everybody, welcome to our energy update. My name is Jona Bryndis, and this is the energy report for the week of September 1st to September 7th. Today is the 31st of August, and I want to welcome you. I hope you had a good last week. I started talking about the last week when we got interrupted. It was a bit of a mixed bag for many of you. We had sort of an orange time here on our energy barometer, which means that we were getting just a little bit of a reprieve, but for most people only to actually encounter something within. So the outer energies were slightly how can I say, less challenging, even though we have been dealing with the hurricane, the flooding here in the United States, which is a very tragic thing. But most of the energetic sensations that people are having right now are coming from the inside. And this is kind of like the warning last week, the warning to go within, to go into a state of reflection. And what we found was quite disturbing for some. We have encounters with our shadow, many energetically sensitives, and I know I'm sounding a bit serious here, and if you think this is all woo-woo, just don't mind me talking about this, but had etheric encounters last week, and I want to talk a little bit about this here today, because there aren't many people who actually talk about this openly or address this in a way that I think is conducive for our energies. So we'll be talking about energetic interaction a bit. I still want to reflect a little bit on the last week. If you didn't really have like any kind of severe reactions like some did had a racing heart, a severe feeling of a crisis from within, something that can subjectively feel extremely disturbing. If you feel like you are collapsing, if you feel like you can't get up from your bed, you can't move, such as similar to a sleep paralysis. So etheric attacks can feel very disturbing for people, and maybe you know someone who's talked about this. If you never had anything like this happen to you, those things are real and actually quite common amongst energetically sensitives and empaths. And why is that? Well, I've mentioned this before. Etheric energies are kind of like always there. They're like germs, you know, and just because we can't see them doesn't make them less real. When we, however, awaken to this ability to feel things a bit more clearly within us, then our mind locks on to this and starts interpreting it. And when the interpretation happens is when things like worry and fear set in. And this is something I've warned many of you here the last couple of weeks to not buy into fear, to not buy into drama. So we talked a lot about how to disengage from drama 2 weeks ago, I think, and this is something that needed to be applied. So when we begin to see etheric energies, or when we have these nightmarish type of experiences, but we're awake, it's very important to remember not to go into fear, not to go into this utter state of panic. And I know this can be challenging, and there's quite a few people who contacted me this week, besides even experienced visionaries having these attack moments, who don't know what to do. So the first thing is, thanks for reaching out. Reaching out is probably the single most important thing that you can do when you're experiencing those kind of disturbing sensations, because talking about it, regardless of what the person understands whom you talk to, already helps you to dissipate some of these energies. Writing it down if you can, but really going into the state of observing or witnessing rather than getting completely hooked onto the experience itself. It sounds a bit weird when I say this, when I say, well, just engage, blah, blah, it's no big deal. In those situations, it can actually be really severe, and I don't want to create the impression that I'm not taking this seriously. This is what we do. We're etheric surgeons here, energy healers and energy coaches. This is our daily bread. So we understand the severity of this. But it is important that you understand that some of these attacks are not as personal as they appear. They will feel very personal because of the effect that they have on your mind, on your ego. As you are in these states of panic, your deepest core fears are going to be triggered. Your deepest shadow aspects are going to be triggered. And this is what happened last week. And most of that is very difficult to find or to put into words. But if I have to just summarize what I've experienced here with hundreds of people last week and sort of the class of problems that we encountered, they were mostly linked to the specialness of the past. Something that we have used to identify with, something that we have sort of hung on to as our lifeline, or where we have externalized our powers, that is now falling apart. So what you have been experiencing is the preview here of what happens when things fall apart on the outside. It challenges your ego, not only on, say, an emotional and physical level, but also on a mental and spiritual level, because it reduces or removes the ability for you to use some of the crutches, some of the coping mechanisms that you've developed in the past, to continue using them. And so it will steer your system, your energy system, not just your mind, not just your emotions, and sometimes your body, but also your spiritual self and your etheric self into a state of panic. And when you are in these states, you are most vulnerable for not only the projections of others, but also for astral energies. We have been having a strong overlay of astral energies. I've been talking about this for 4 weeks now, attacking our 6th chakra. I think the worst is over here, at least as far as last week is concerned, was definitely an accumulation of astral energies sort of hijacking or intruding people's energy field. So anyone who was already in a state of tiredness, in a state of inner fragmentation, in a state of let's say discontentment, and with a lack of direction, feeling lost. We talked about this last week. Could have been a very easy target. So if you had these experiences, understand that these were triggered by outer energies on the etheric level. However, what they triggered in you, some of the dreams, some of the feelings of utter desperation, some of your specialness maybe even, those are things that are coming from you, from within you. And they make up these so-called shit magnets, as I call them in my symbol language here. These make up these docking stations in your etheric for other people's energies to be projected onto you, or for astral energies to feed on your energy. So if this sounds like really scary for you, then please forgive me for seeing the need to talk about this. But this is quite severe. And what can you do when this happens? First thing is learn how to breathe, learn how to control some of your body functions when you are in a state of panic. And breathing is the best way to start, because you can always breathe. And with a little bit of training, you can practice states such as lucid dreaming states, transpersonal meditation states that allow you to control your energy, even if your body, if your autonomous nervous system is in a shutdown. All right, so this is all about regaining and reclaiming your etheric body, and the only way really you can learn how to do this is by learning more and learning your own energy, getting to know your energy, you know where your boundaries are, feel when you are weak, when you're susceptible, and avoid the things that promote these kind of things. So what are typical places, items, or people, or energies that promote etheric takeovers or etheric attacks? It's pretty simple. It's all those realms, all those places where people sort of mess around with astral energies, where they talk with deceased people, where they talk to ghosts, where they invoke lower entities, even channeling. And I know this is not a popular stance to make, but as long as you don't fully know what you're doing, it's actually quite dangerous. So we don't really recommend people to work with channelings. We all understand that there's a part in our journey where spirit guides and angels can help us to become more familiar with those etheric realms, but quite frankly, very often the discernment is not there yet, which means that we cannot really discern, we cannot really differentiate if an entity that we are communicating with is benign, or if it's actually sort of misleading, deceiving, or damaging. This can be practiced. So this is what we do here at transCODES, just for those of you who are really at their wits' ends. You are not alone, and you are not crazy. All right, these things are real, and we know how to deal with this. We know how to teach you and how to train you, how to get through those etheric emergencies. So, okay, you're picking up on the mechanisms with being attacked by etheric entities, and yes, this has a lot to do with your emotional state, your emotions, your beliefs, such as pain and fear, are the main contributors to fragmenting your etheric immune system, which means that the more fragmented you are, and this can also express in rigidity, guys, a rigidity that we have is what makes us more brittle, what makes us more, you know, like a building that is absolutely, I don't know the right words right now in English, but if you don't have a good flexibility within yourself and adapt to every situation that comes up, then you are more susceptible. And I think a tree is a good analogy here, because the tree, you know, can withstand quite a bit of shaking, quite a bit of wind. And the way it does it is through deep roots that go really, really deep, and that are that create a very strong foundation, but a very wide and open crown, you know, that can go with the wind. And this is kind of like the symbology here of how you can withstand etheric attacks as well. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your question. Does Himalayan salt lamps help? Sage, black tourmaline stones, tonal meditations? Yes, Phil. They do. Sage, absolutely. I've talked about this in the past. It's a very potent clearing agent. Black tourmaline also. This is a crystal, for those who are not familiar with this. I'm not sure about the Himalayan salt lamps, but sea salt actually has very strong clearing properties. Those things can be used for keeping your space clean, you know, your apartment or your house, your property, and for cleaning them. Tonal meditation, same thing. If you know the frequency of the music that you are listening to, you can use music to clear your space. You can use music to create a higher vibratory field around you. So yes, thank you for bringing this up, Phil. Those things work. And there's other things that we can do. We can work with plants. Lavender is known to be one of the most potent plants to help dissipate astral energies. And there's a few other plants. However, I would strongly recommend, and we had a lot of forum activity this past week here in our transCODES self-healing community. I would recommend people to connect with plants, local plants, plants that grow in your environment, whatever climate zone you are in, typically provide the highest and most powerful healing properties for you. So if you live in a climate zone that doesn't provide a lot of flowers, then of course you have to go and buy some seeds, but try to pick things that are most natural. Those are usually more powerful. So I've recommended this a lot last week, to go get your hands in the dirt, grow plants, not necessarily for the purpose of growing foods, but there's also a reason why I sometimes recommend people to connect with the fruit-bearing plants to grow their own foods. Many people are not aware of this, but there is a very deep connection between plants and humans, and a communication as well. Science is just about to catch up on that. And for those of you who have always been familiar with the healing powers, with the medicines of plants, my recommendation is care for your plants as you would care for your pets, as you would care for your kids or yourself. Your plants stand in constant energetic communication with you, and they can support your etheric, they can help you to clear, and fruit-bearing plants can help to produce, say, fruits or vegetables that are adjusted to your DNA, as miraculous or unbelievable this sounds. If you spend time and energy with a plant, the plant will attune to you. It will align to your DNA, to your nutritional needs. It will create fruits that have a nutritional composition specifically targeted at your DNA. And the way you can enhance this is by putting a little bit of spit in the water that you give to your plants, or by touching them. So all this tree hugging and touching plants and so forth is not woo-woo, guys. That's real. And we're only at the beginning here of finding out about those miracles that can unfold between humans and animals when we allow this kind of deep connection. Well, just on a side note here, so some of the other things that people experienced, and I talked a little bit about this in last week's energy update, is this almost like depression type of stagnation. This will probably continue a little bit this week. The reflection always brings the sort of the assessment, you know, of our failures and successes. And for many people, this can lead to, to somewhat like a sort of grieving type of feeling, having these regrets about things and kind of feeling stuck. And that's something you really need to work with this week, or else it will blow up in your face. Seriously, this is a big one. Look at all the accomplishments and see even the negative experiences as important learning experiences that have gotten you here. Yes, I know that some people have worse stories than others. okay? And it's easy to say this when you think like, oh, you know, what does she know about, you know, my drama right now? I was reflecting on this the other day. You know, I've lived through 3 hurricanes myself, and I know exactly what these people are going through there. And it's not so much that it puts me into a place of detachment, but I understand the severity. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have lived through other people's stories to understand the subjective suffering. But if we hang on to our suffering as a failure, as something that creates a fear in us in the future, then we are limiting ourselves. We are really contracting our energy into these failures. And one of the biggest phenomenon here is the anxiety, the fear of making mistakes. So understand that your fear of making mistakes, which is future oriented, is linked to the pain of the past. All right, and in order to be in the moment where the majority and the power of your manifestation takes place, you need to be able to let go of both. The pain, the specialness, the sacrifice of the past, and the fear of the future, including the fear of making mistakes, of not being good enough. Those things will be severely triggered this week. Yes. So let's look at a little bit closer at next week and what we can do as far as like practical tips for energetically sensitives and empaths, how to deal with the challenges coming up next week. Next week is going to be a complicated and challenging week. And it's not going to be easy here to talk about what I recommend you to do, because, of course, I'm not a clairvoyant. I do not see exactly what we're going to be dealing with. But I can tell you that looking at the energy of the visionaries and people with precognitive abilities, which we all have, but those of us that I work with, including myself, who get this preview of what is coming up, the emotional and the mental and the etheric preview of things, it's going to be challenging. All right. And what is the part that will challenge us? The part that will challenge us the most will be all these unresolved aspects of our energetic interaction with other people and our environment. The very thing that I have been recommending you to work on pretty much like since the end of last year. Resistance has a lot to do with this, and not wanting to change. Again, here, of course, the fear of change, not having a proper foundation. I think probably the single most important thing for next week is to really become aware of your foundation. And it doesn't matter if you feel like you're going backwards. This whole idea of ascension and stepping up a ladder is a misguided notion of how this works here with us increasing the vibration of our own energy body and that of the entire planet. If we always have to go back to our foundation, it's important. And if you are energetically sensitive and you don't know how to ground yourself, then you under basically in a constant danger of being hijacked either by your own energies or by those collective energies that I report about. The collective energy report here that I do is not there to give you a justification. It is there to remind you what it is that you need to work through in order to be able to maneuver through this. And so the maneuvering is something that we will be addressing next week here at transCODES. We have a big weekend intensive coming up called Energetic Navigation. This is granted, it's suitable for beginners, but if you're completely unfamiliar with words like Etheric and so forth, I would probably not recommend to you to come. But it's a big weekend where I share really deep secrets here, secrets which aren't really secrets, but very deep teaching of how to etherically navigate, how to hold your energy together, inner energies, outer energies, and dimensions. So it's the etheric navigation weekend coming up next weekend. The reason why this is important to understand a little bit more about energetic interaction is because we all are subject to energetic interaction, whether we are aware of it or not. And if you look a few weeks back, I've published a lot of articles about that, energetic absorption, energetic projection, and how to prevent unwanted absorption. One of the biggest subjects for empaths, really. And it's important to understand the dynamics here before we go into blaming, because blaming is probably the single most common ego trait that we come up with. You know, we're very, very quick in blaming others, and quite frankly, when it comes to energetic stuff, which is a bit more complex than people think it is, the blaming is useless, because nothing can latch onto you unless you allow it to. And if you don't know what you're allowing to latch on, well, whose fault is it? You know, it's nobody's fault. It's our responsibility here to step into that sovereignty and to reclaim our energy body. Without that, we cannot ascend. Without that, the descending energies we cannot fully inhabit that. We cannot hold that. All right, so it's really important for you to understand that all these changes and these shifts that you're going through, and all these energetic sensations, these ascension symptoms, as some call them, that you're experiencing, are part of training for you to learn how to hold your own stuff together, how to hold your own energy field together. And as things speed up, and this is what we're experiencing right now, this week is going to be a red week on the energetic barometer here for energetically sensitives and empaths, because things are speeding up. And they will bring everything to the surface that is not resolved yet. All right? And if you don't know how to resolve your fears, how to get over your self-berating, your self-defeat, your self-sabotage, you know, your shadow aspects, and some of the stuff that you don't even know you carry with you, you know, like, say, maybe karmic attachments and so forth. And then it's going to be difficult for you to contextualize that, to understand them. Why do I feel this way, and why do I have to go through this? And that's why I talk so much about becoming clear about your true intentions, and becoming clear about who you truly are, connecting with your heart. Your heart consciousness is the only one that can help you to navigate through this, guys. And in order to have a good connection with your true self and through your heart, it's the foundation work that matters. It's not all those fancy-dancy metaphysical concepts. I can talk about those all right, and I've read a lot about this, and they're all valid. But when it comes to the practical implementation, when you are in a state of anxiety, when you are in a state of depression, or an acute etheric attack, or when you're in a state of anger, can you really connect with something like love? Can you really go into these places of oneness, love will heal all? No, you can't. Because when your energy is caught in lower vibratory places, you have no access to your higher vibratory impulses, skills, or even your perception. And that's why this is so serious. This week you will be at the height of deception, but not outer deception. Forget fake news. News have always been fake. This is nothing new. look at your ego. Your ego is the one that limits and deceits your perception. So you got to become aware of your own limitations, of the limitations of your mind. And also some of the concepts that you carry and the beliefs that you carry, what you hold in mind. So how can you navigate through these things? Then you first of all, you have to be willing to accept that there's going to be confrontation. Whether this is in your personal life, in your relationship, or on an outer level, on a political level, on an environmental level, on a financial level, there's going to be confrontation. And yes, we're looking at confrontational, correctional times, with the height of it, the end of September. All right, so what we're starting to feel here is just a prelude. So if you agree to confrontation, then you don't have to deal with your inner resistance to it, and that's sort of half the battle. And then you have to really go into your own truth and evaluate for yourself, discern for yourself what is true to you, what is not, what you truly want, how you truly feel, and of course how you want your life, how you want your relationship, how you want your job, how you want these things to be. And for those of you who've done this part of the work, this is a wonderful time now. This is a wonderful week. It's an equal opportunity. We'll get opportunities to materialize, to manifest things out of nothingness, because there is so much change, because there is such a fast speed right now. All right, so it doesn't have to be suffering. You don't need sacrifice. You don't need victimhood. If you know who you are, if you have a good foundation, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and etherically, you can maneuver through these things no problem. It is only the fear of the future, the fear of the unknown, and the pain of the past, maybe mixed with a little bit of spiritual specialness, spiritual superiority. This is a big warning for all of you who still feel their spiritual ego. It's going to make your trip this week. And that's why we need to redefine those rules of engagement in our relationship between us and our friends, our family, and so forth. We cannot enable the dysfunctionalities of the past anymore. If we do, then we're sending our energy into this untrue, incongruent, fragmented realm, and there we become vulnerable and susceptible. So forgive me to sound all this serious here today, but I can't really give you maybe what your ego wants to hear, that everything's going to be all right. It can be all right if you make it all right. So what we need to focus on next week is first chakra. That's our root, our foundation. The feeling of belonging, the feeling of connecting or being connected, allowing ourselves to inhabit our space on all levels, reclaiming our sovereignty, and if needed, going back to the basics. Going back to basics. If you haven't done any exercise, if you haven't taken care of your body, take care of it now. At the beginning of the year, I said, if you have overdue dental work that needs to be done, do it now. All right? Sorry for sounding so motherish. But this is the time, guys. Foundation work. And if you don't know how to connect with your first chakra, I will display the first chakra chart here, and there are some exercises and some remedies in there. On the first chakra level, on the foundation level, it is important that you include your physical. You have to deal with your physical. Go out, chop wood. If you're a guy, go out and do impact-based exercises, things that get you into your grunt mode. And yes, women as well, it's very important for you that you connect with that masculine part in you, because that's part of your foundation. And if you negate it, or if you have disdain towards it, it will blow up in your face, etherically. Alright, so I hope that this week I'll have more time to actually write a report. These last 2 weeks have been extraordinarily busy, and I didn't even get to finish session reports for some of the public sessions that we have, because I spend so much time in responding to individuals with direct issues. All right, so forgive me if I'm late, or if I can't provide reports sometimes, because I'm actually busy helping people. But what I mean to say here is that in hopefully this written report, I can give a few more tips on how to connect and how to balance your first chakra. The second most important thing is our fifth chakra this week. Our expression, the way we communicate ourselves, the clarity that we have. And guys, please stop blaming. And of course, stop gossiping. That's toxic for your fifth chakra. You can do all the clearing modalities in the world, use tourmaline and use all the fancy dancy stuff. But if you are out there and judge other people and blame other people and gossip and badmouth, hey, you're asking for it. Okay, so be conscientious about where your energy goes when you go a little low, or when you go into places where you feel challenged. Watch it. Be your own witnesser, because that's your fifth chakra. What are some of the most prevalent physical symptoms that I'm expecting for this week? Gallbladder and liver issues. Gallbladder, guys, gallbladder, first and fifth chakra. You're going to have to deal with your repressed anger, or else it's going to get you. Sorry for I don't mean to instill fear, but you're going to have to deal with this. And if you're still lagging behind with nutritional stuff, please read my article, How to Implement a High Vibratory Diet. This is not some woo-woo. This is up-to-date nutritional science. You have to work with your body, or else your body turns against you. If you resist your body, it will resist you, and it will show it to you this week, or the next 3 weeks. Yes, I feel very often burned out being in the space I'm in. Drango, this is, oh, sorry for the pronunciation. This is something you're going to have to work with. You're going to have to work with the energetic conditions that you're in, the exposure that you have. I'm going to post an article here for you that I've written about how to determine the energetic exposure. The space that you're in could be anything from the geographical location, a building, or just a room that you're in. Energetic residues can accumulate in spaces, and they can create this sort of thick energetic layer. They can also attract astral energies. If you weren't there at the beginning, I talked about some issues with being attracted to astral energies, and some places actually promote or attract them. And if we feel constantly drained in certain places, then we can do one out of two, or both things. One is clearing, regular clearing, and the other one is inviting more positive energies. Okay, so if it's your house that is bothering you, the energy in there, you can do as Phil recommended, use tonals, use high vibratory music, for instance, to flush your apartment. But there's simpler things, you know. Go get a bucket of paint your walls, open the windows, sunlight, let sunlight in, let the light come in, change some of the colors maybe. Reduce the items, reduce clutter, take out some of the old stuff. A lot of people have a lot of old stuff around them, and old stuff accumulates etheric and astral energies. Yes, and if it's the room that you sleep in, this is particularly bad because you were exposed to those lower vibratory energies then in your most vulnerable state when you're sleeping. So you've got to do something about that. And if that's something that you cannot really influence or control because, like, say, of neighbors or the overall situation that you're in, maybe roommates or something, then find your own place. Seriously. All right. I want to come back to gallbladder and liver here, guys. This is not to be underestimated. This can be for people very painful and also very limiting. You know, maybe have a blood test done. We're still in a time where you can do some of the foundation work, you know, and see if you can change your lifestyle, if you can change your nutritional habits a bit towards detoxing. Help your body to detox, and do not hang on to anger and resentment of the past. That is what affects your gallbladder. Gallbladder stones and infected gallbladders are the accumulation of repressed anger energies in the past. So you can also learn how to release those things energetically. This is what we are for here at transCODES. We teach you how to do this. And I want to remind everybody on a big monthly event coming up tomorrow, which is our free remote energy healing with our remote prayers group. This is free, guys. It's for anyone in need of assistance, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and etheric assistance. Sign up. Go to transcodes.com for the sign up link, so that you know how to be part of this. You're going to get instructions. I've already started sending out the preparation email to a few of you, but there's going to be instructions roughly 6 to 12 hours before the session. You're also going to receive a free energy prayer with it, which is one of those recorded energy alignments, those mini meditations that I do for free. Does sport help dealing with energies, Naveen? Yes, absolutely. This is first chakra. This is foundation work. Specific exercises help with specific energetic issues or imbalances. But it's overall the foundation. It's overall the bringing our physical into, or accepting really ourselves as energetic beings, which includes our body. And we recommend different types of exercises for different kinds of imbalances, emotional, mental, spiritual imbalances. And I have these chakra charts, and you may see this here in the recorded video, that give physical tips. And of course, you know, it's already an A4 page written, I think, 8-point small font. We can't really, I can't put too much on there, but there are specific exercises for specific chakra or specific energy centers, energy meridians in our system. And there's people who can help you with this. And you can always ask here. So if you would like to know a specific exercise for something that you're dealing with, then please use the commentary here in, you know, on YouTube or on Facebook, and I will answer you back. I'll give you specific answers, practical tips. Intellectual coming up on Saturday. It's the global project that transCODES is involved in, Evolve. And we're having a panel, a webinar conference talking about the future of health education. This is something that we are working on as a crowdfunding nonprofit project, where we are forming a global collaboration of communities that help others. All right, mostly in regards to health, energy medicine, and integrative healing arts. All right. And one more thing we had was on Sunday. Let me check my calendar. I'm so bad with dates. You know this about me already. Oh yes. So on Sunday we have Grace Integrity come up, one of our most popular energy sessions. If you have never been in an energy session, this is probably a good one to start with. It works with emotional integration, and so we learn there in an energy session how to emotionally integrate some of these dissonances, some of these fragments that I talked about earlier. And Sunday we will be focusing on how to integrate these masculine and feminine parts in us that I talked about last week. How can we get into this place of inner unity, of inner fusion? Really, it's not as fancy as you think. It's extremely effective. And it's very rare that people walk out of this remote energy session, even if they never had any experience with that, without actually having tons of experiences. All right, how do we get rid of stagnant energies? Stagnant energies within is something that I talked about here at the beginning and last week. Stagnation coming from within has a lot to do with rigidity and the fear of change, the fear of making mistakes. Stagnant energies from the outside, or if you're referring to what I just mentioned, old energies, you know, like energetic residue from the past, how you get rid of them is basically by letting go of them. Let go. Throw out what is no longer needed. Let go of ties to people that are no longer conducive for you. Let go of emotions, let go of pain, let go of anger. Everything that I talked about here today has to do with letting go of things that no longer serve you. And those are those energies that that feel stagnant within, that make your energy become sluggish, that make your energy become susceptible to outer stuff, that make your energy susceptible to absorbing energies from others, and so forth. Next week is gonna rattle your relationships, guys, and I've said this to quite a few people here coaching this week already. Tough love. You're gonna have to redefine your relationships. You're gonna have to renegotiate. You're gonna have to come up with new rules of engagement. Sexual projection, emotional manipulation, blaming, codependency, victimhood, those are all dysfunctional, low vibratory, negative energies. All right, so don't get hung up on these fancy dancy energy work techniques. If you have a dysfunctional relationship, well, sorry, you are asking for it. You're inviting those energies in, and it is not your partner's fault. It has to do with some of these unresolved shadow and shadow aspects and soul fragments that you have. So please, don't blame yourself either. Don't beat yourself up. You know, see things the way they are. And when I say tough love, I mean there's a strictness that you need about your boundaries. And any woman here that finds herself in a situation where the guy says, "Oh, you're just not spiritual enough, and if you were, you would have sex with me, or you would open up more sexually," bullshit. Okay? If this is not what you want, if this is not what you feel, do not fall for this. Whether this is in 3D or in your dreams or in your etheric experience. All right? So again, I'm apologizing for being so serious. Yes, we have to come to an end here right now. I want to thank you all for your attention, for your time. And if you're looking for a way to support, maybe to contribute to either things that I do, or victims of the Texas flood and hurricane, here is a general recommendation I have. And I've said this last week in regards to financial investments, but this is not reduced to investments. You can also see this in regards to your time and your energy. By you spending time here with me, you're supporting me and transCODES. But the recommendation that I have is help those who help others. Support others. It's the communities, guys, that we need, and it's the communities and the connection between us that can get us through these chaotic times. Help those that help others. All right? Thank you so much, and stay tuned here for one more minute just to get a little more info about the upcoming energy sessions here at transCODES. Bye bye everyone. Thank you.